Paul, hello.
Hello, I'm sorry we got cut off earlier.
All right, you're back, which is good. So Rebecca Long-Bailey, I said, is she going to win? Are you supporting her?
I don't think she's the front runner at the moment. I think Keir Starmer is the front runner, and at the moment I'm not supporting anybody. But I have an individual vote to cast here, and I'm going to make people work for it. And for me, it's about, as I said before, do they get the scale of the defeat? Do they understand we're going to need to unite the parties rather than left v right v centre? And do they understand we're going to need constitutional reform to have a progressive government in this country? Now, those are new problems, and they're revealed by all elections reveal something. So who gets it? For me, the person who gets it the most is Clive Lewis, the MP for Norwich South. The problem Clive has, and I've been very politically close to him, the problem is that he just, I don't think, has enough MPs to get on the ballot paper at the moment. We'll see this week whether he does. And if he doesn't, then on current form, I would say I would much prefer a candidate like Keir Starmer, who is of a kind of more humanitarian-based left, I would say, than Long-Bailey, to take over, to try and unite the party, to create a space for people like me who want to think about innovative left-wing policies and do grassroots activism. So I think that those are my kind of choices. Unfortunately, they're both male, and that's a problem. But until I see Rebecca Long-Bailey actually break from that bureaucracy that delivered this catastrophe and learn some lessons, no, that my vote is not going to go in that direction.
But in terms of what matters of the numbers of those who have the power to make this decision, is it right when we hear that it's still the power, if you like, is with those who joined for Corbyn, therefore somebody like Rebecca Long-Bailey, seen as the candidate to continue the Corbyn project, is just a shoo-in?
I really don't think Rebecca is a shoo-in at all. I think that I would also say to those of your listeners who are saying, shall I join? I would say yes, as long as you're not coming to join to do something silly, like you're a Tory and you just want to sabotage things. But really, all progressive people, including the 1.5 million extra votes that the Lib Dems got, and the 350,000 extra votes that the Greens got, which I think Labour should have had, and we want to win you back. Okay, so above all, if you're thinking about becoming politically active, I would say there is a window of opportunity to come in and listen to the debate and have your say. Labour, after all, is still, I mean, bizarrely, it's still the most successful social democratic party in Europe. Yeah, but 32% would be a to-die-for result for most of the other parties.
But do you think the tone has been right since the election? You know, where is the anger? Where is the a constant sort of apology? We got this wrong, we read it wrong. You know, sort of the making people believe, not people in the party, voters, you messed up, it's time to sort it out.
Well, look, apologies come cheap unless you are actually prepared to change. That's what all people, you know, who mess up in real life, know. And what I want, I'm, of course, you can be as angry as you want to be, but anger doesn't get you anywhere. What we've got to do is to think calmly and constructively.
Passion, though? What about passion?
I don't think there's a shortage of passion in the Labour left, and certainly not in my house about what happened. But look, it's a time for analytical thinking. The Tories are where they are with a 80-plus majority because they have people who thought through the situation. We have people who are out, at our worst, we have wallowed in nostalgia. And there are people quoting Tony Benn, toughen up, etc. No, Tony Benn, I'm afraid, is relevant as a kind of inspiration, but his policies and that world have gone. And we need a left that appeals to everybody, from the young people I met in my hometown, Lee, on very low wages, with very, very few life chances, no money flushing around the economy, right through to people in Bristol, in Camden, the big cities where, a lot of educated and skilled young people work. We've got to be an alliance that from A to Z. And then we've got to, if we can, include Scotland and Wales. Now, that needs new thinking. And so I want the thinking rather than the emotion to lead what happens next.
We've got a message here. Paul Mason's line is like his party cracking up.
Well, the party's not cracking up, weirdly. Do you know what the interesting thing is that even someone like Jess Phillips, who I would have been, on the other side of most debates with Jess, and I certainly won't be voting for, I think are preparing to actually fight for an outcome that everybody can live with. That's for me, the important thing. Labour Party with 500,000 members, and indeed right now adding members because people are rightly joining to have a say, is a major force in British society. Unfortunately, we're an irrelevance in Scotland. That really grieves me, and I want the Progressive Project in Scotland to include cosmopolitan left-wing Scottish nationalism. I'm not a tribalist when it comes to other parties here. So I think, no, the party isn't cracking up. I think its enemies would like it to, but it's not going to.
Well, that was from Mal. I think he was quite enjoying the fact he could make a bit of symmetry between your line and perhaps what the electoral performance has seen. But yes, reports about meetings within the Labour Party since have sounded more unified and less fraught in some ways than what was going on in the run-up. I just wondered, finally, if I could ask you, lots of messages coming in about this. Lisa Nandy, a supporter here, for Lisa Nandy for Labour leader. Anyone else that I think they will struggle to get back to voting for Labour again reads this message. What I just would ask you is, we were told by people like yourself how the party, very successful, lots of members. I just wondered, have you spoken to some of those people who joined purely because of Corbyn, perhaps some of the younger members, and how do they feel now?
I think many of them are at a political crossroads themselves, because they spent the last 2.5 years thinking of great things they would do if we got into power, and I think now realising they didn't think hard enough about how we would get into power. And so if you're a young and idealistic person, that question produces a series of answers that involve compromises and alliances. And Lisa and Andy, you speak about Lisa. I've travelled to Lisa's constituency, worked with her on some of the issues that she is now fighting on, and I could live with Lisa Nandy, leader of the Labour Party, as long as she can live with my kind of leftism. And that's the kind of argument that we're trying to have now, because I do think that there is, like I am here, there is every possibility that we take most of these seats back. I campaigned in many of those seats. Brexit was, and Corbyn as a person, what were the big two turn-offs from us. I think we can remedy both of them, but we need to start working in community. You don't change hearts and minds unless you actually work around the issues people are concerned about. My big critique of Corbyn is he tried to connect with those northern working class communities by saying, have Brexit, have a form of Brexit, when what they wanted was concrete answers on migration, on crime, on national security. And somebody like me, who is pro-Trident, pro-NATO, pro-cracking down on crime, I was getting nowhere with the idea that, look, what people in Lisa's constituency want are answers on this. And I think Brexit became the substitute for the party, which didn't want, from its liberal city heartland, didn't want to engage with those issues.